When was the last time you laughed without thinking about your body? Imagine being afraid to laugh, not for a day, not for a week, but for years. Most people never think about this, but many of my patients do. And I see this every day. I am a pelvic floor surgeon. And I treat women who carry injuries from childbirth. And for them, even something as simple as laughing can become dangerous. Every time she laughs, she loses control of her body. Something we do every day without even thinking. One of my patients hadn't laughed really for 10 years. After surgery, she hugged me. She was crying, and she whispered something I will never forget. "Doctor, I can finally laugh." The room became quiet. Everyone understood what she meant. This is not a rare story. Millions of women live like this for years, sometimes for decades. This is not a medical rarity. This is what we have learned to call normal. And many of them are told, this is simply normal after childbirth. These words sound harmless, but repeated often enough, they become truth. Pain like this is not passed through genes, it is passed through words. From doctors to patients, from mothers to daughters, from one generation to the next. Pain becomes normal, silence becomes the norm. I remember one surgery very clearly. The woman was under anesthesia. Her muscles were severely damaged. Her body could no longer control even her basic functions. This was not a complication. This was 10 years of silence. I remember standing there in the operating room, looking at her body and thinking, how long has she been living like this? 5 years? 10? 20? What kind of world is this where a woman needs a surgery just to laugh? At that moment, everything became clear. The problem was neither the woman, it was the system that failed her. For years, I worked inside that system. Public hospitals, same stories, same silence. Every time I finished surgery, I knew she would return to the same system that failed her. I was angry, not at her, not at medicine, at the system. And I realized something. I could repair her body, but I was sending her back into the same system that broke her. You cannot fix people inside a broken system. And one day, it became clear. If the system cannot change, you build a new one. When I decided to open my clinic, almost nobody believed in me. Not investors, not colleagues, not even my family. Some people said, these problems were too shameful to even mention. Someone told me, why would anyone build a clinic around something like that? Because this was something people were taught not to talk about. And some people laughed, but the women I treated had forgotten how. So I kept going. Every week I saw the same thing. Women silently tolerating pain for 10, sometimes 20 years. Step by step, I built what the system refused to build. Not just a clinic, a system where women are heard, where recovery after childbirth is treated as medicine, where women are not expected to live in pain. And often, the most important thing a woman hears in my clinic is this: this is not normal. In that moment, I understood my role. I was no longer only a surgeon. I was building something that the system had learned to ignore. And that's when I understood who I had become. Entrepreneur of recovery. And then something unexpected happened. Women began to show up. Not because of marketing, not because of advertising, because for the first time they were heard. From my city, from other regions, from other countries, more and more women followed. Because something they had been missing for years finally existed. Today, thousands of women have been through my clinic. Over time, I started to see it clear. Surgeons and entrepreneurs do the same thing. We refuse to accept what the world has learned to tolerate. If people tolerate a problem for years, it is not inconvenience, it is a system failure. So I created a simple tool. I call it the tolerance test. If you are an entrepreneur in this room, this is for you. It's just 3 questions. Think about your work, your business, your industry. What is one problem people simply tolerate? Not complain about, not fix it, just tolerate. Find what people tolerate, measure how long, and imagine life without it. If this problem disappeared tomorrow, what would change? Relief? Freedom? A better life? If nothing changes, it is not a real problem. If everything changes, it is your opportunity. The more people tolerate a problem, the bigger opportunity becomes. Tolerance hides opportunity. That's where entrepreneurship begins. I ran this test in the operating room, and I changed what was considered normal. So if you want to build something that truly matters, run the tolerance test, because that is exactly what I did. In that moment, I understood my mission. My job is not only to operate. My mission is to rebuild the system of recovery for women. And I have seen what happens when recovery becomes possible. Women return to their lives, their dignity. They laugh again. They run again. They hold their children without fear. They return to themselves. I still remember the woman. She said, "Doctor, I can finally laugh." And maybe one day, no woman will ever have to think about her body, before she loves freely. Thank you.